Hi everybody. So here's the plan for today for the 3 or 4 people watching right now. Do we get a couple more? Hey, 6 people. Fantastic. That's all right. I realize some of you might be doing what I suggested before, which is watching anything on YouTube at 2x. So if you're waiting for this to post and watching it after the fact at 2x, can't hold that against you. So let's see where we are from last time. We did the first half of lesson 17, and we are going to finish up 17 today and answer the one question about lesson 17 today, which we might answer when we get to that bubble. And so that's going to be it today. We'll stop. We should be able to finish that inside of an hour. But if it goes a little longer, I do have a little bit more time than I did yesterday. And then tomorrow we will go over the create task and everything that's involved with that, like we did for the explore task. All right, so picking up where we left off, which I believe was bubble 10 in lesson 17. Okay, did we finish 9? What did we need for 9? 9 was draw key when pressed. Yeah, so it's on, this was on mouse move if, with an if statement being true. And this is different than what we've done before, where mostly in our conditionals for if statements were if something is equal to this, or if something is not equal to, or greater than equal to, and so on. This, just by saying if event.shift key, then that's saying that is true when the shift key is pressed. We don't need a equals in there. This is the same as putting double equals true. I think this should still work. Just saying if something, that's like if tree means there's a tree. Yeah, it still works. Okay, so if event shift key is that. All right, so bubble 10, we need to, we're going to store our information. Did we get to this? We just didn't finish it? Mr. Drusi, do you remember?
I don't. It's on the calendar. I can look on the calendar. Give me one second.
Yeah, it says bubble 10, but I don't know if that's the last one we did. I think we did do this one because you can tell from the that this is, we have a blank or an empty array here that we initialize on line 1, and then console log or add every circle and the characteristics of every circle to that array here every time it happens for every circle, and we are console logging every time. So if we draw, it adds an object to our array, which again is one of those nested things that the object is a way of holding information, but you can have an array of objects. You can have an object that has an array in it. Okay, so depending, those things are not mutually exclusive. They are frequently used together. And okay, so here, yes, so we were console logging it every time we made a new circle. The way they want you to do it here is you are not console logging or having it print out the array until you get to the end. So if we run it and hold shift key, hold shift key, now we have a bunch of circles. We come down here to the console and we can write console.log every circ, and there we go. That's a console log of all, I don't know, 80, 90 circles, and oh wait, more than that, 119, and each item in that array is an object. This was the first circle that we drew, like right there, and here are the characteristics of it: its location, its movement, setting, that sort of thing. All right, so we're creating an array with every circle in it that contains all its characteristics that if we needed to, we can um, access if we needed to for some reason. Seeing questions about when this is going to be due. I think, um, Mr. DeRusi, if you recall, we talked about having the deadline for this be Monday, which gives you guys a
Yeah, I
week.
was thinking Monday would probably work because we need to open up the next unit to see some information about the create task. Although you can do the create task without the next unit.
All
Um,
the documents from the next unit is or will be available in our create task folder. So it's not like it prevents you, but it might give you a better framework. But yes, we do need to open that up, which means we have to close Unit 5, which means we have to put a deadline on it, which is going to be Monday morning. We'll call it Sunday night, so I'll lock it off whenever I get to it Monday morning.
yeah, it's just the simple fact that we can't have two units available to you at the same time for some reason. It's just the way the
Yeah,
code.org works, unless they change it, which I don't see them doing.
yeah,
Uh,
they might change it for
but
next year, but they're not going to change it right now.
with lesson 17 being part of marking period 4 and marking period 4 being this kind of pass fail slash credit no credit thing, just get lesson 17 done as soon as possible just to cover your bases. I think that will be the safest thing to say right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it wouldn't be a terrible idea to have students have access to the lessons from Unit 5 while they're working on their create task, but
Yeah, I agree with that. I
we'll
think
be
there
able to
could be
help.
a weird solution where you could create your own code.org account outside of our classrooms and have access to it, but that's going to get confusing for people, I think.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. We'll figure it out. There might be a scenario where you can have the create task and another unit open. I don't know. There's some inconsistencies which are unfortunate, but let's knock this out and um, we will talk about that later. All right, so we're going to add a delete button. Um, each one trigger a different event handler, process array. All right, so we are um, we are creating an array and adding an element to that array every time we draw a circle, and it will be all those characteristics of the circle. And so now we're going to have the ability to delete them. So we're going to go into design mode. We're going to choose one of the buttons. Let's make it this button. We are going to, let's call this clear canvas. And in the text, we're gonna just the placeholder, the name of the button will be clear. I don't know, something like that. And why don't we give it a different color? How about white? Nope, that's not gonna work. Black. Sure. And we need an event handler, so we'll just add an event. Click insert and show, which is always a great shortcut. When our no, let's give it a better name. Let's call this clear button. Always a good idea to give yourself or give your design elements IDs that end in what it is. Tends to help. So we'll go back to code, and now we need to change this because that doesn't exist. Let's go clear button. When clear button is clicked, we want to call clear canvas. The name of the canvas that we want to clear is canvas main. Oh, is there a clear all canvas? No, clear canvas. Why does it give us? Oh no, create canvas. Excuse me. Yeah, clear canvas, and it will should clear whatever is the active canvas. So let's run it. We'll hold down the shift key, draw some circles, and then beautiful. Okay, it works. Fantastic. Set event list to an empty. Okay, so we also want, so right now there still would be items in the console, I mean, excuse me, in the array, in the every circ array. So if we console logged, if we console log every circ, there's still, the circles still exist, even though we've erased them from the screen. We want them to not exist. So we are going to redefine every circ as an empty array. That's the same thing as deleting all the items in that array. So if we run it now, okay, so let's make some circles and let's console log every circ. Console log every circ. There's items there. Now when we hit clear, it clears those off. And if we console log again, it's empty, which is the point. Our clear button is doing two things. It's clearing out the memory, all the items in the array called every circ, and it's also clearing the canvas. Okay, that's bubble 11. Let's see what's up with 12. Okay, redraw random. Next effect is called create. It's random. Be redrawing the image, but with randomly sized dots. Change the first button in the row. The last one say change the last button. I mean, it doesn't really matter. One of the buttons. For now, you just change the first button in the row to have the proper styling and attach a click event handler to it. In addition, clear the canvas. Is it just you hit? Did they want the last one to be delete? Whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't think the button position matters at all.
But hold on, let's see.
Redraw random part.
Jeez, that's loud. Let me see if I turn mine down. Is yours less loud?
One. The next effect we are going to create is random.
Okay.
We will be redraw.
That's just the voiceover. Says the image below. All right, well, let's just go ahead and make another one. We'll call this random button, and in the text we'll have it say random, and let's change the color to, I don't know, blue, and we need an event handler for it. So on event, random button is clicked. We are going to change the color, or are we going to change the size? What do we need it to do? Change the first button in the row. In addition, clear the canvas from inside. So we're going to clear canvas. And okay, so I guess it's just we click random and we're going to get a different set of I guess they want different colors and different size. I think it just said different size. Randomly sized. Okay, so let's clear canvas. And so is the random button also going to be work like this? Let's go ahead and redo this. feel like we could definitely have optimize this with a function, which would be a good example of abstraction. Event.x, event.y. Let's have a randomly sized circle between 2 and 10. Sure. Let's see if this works. Run like this, and then we hit this. It clears out, and now we get. Nope, that didn't happen. Random button. Set. Let's make this a bigger range. Oh, it's not on event random button click. On event random button click. Let's set add a click event handler to your button. Okay, I'm not really sure the way they want to do this, but I'm going to use another variable. We'll call it variable circle size, and we'll start the first one at 5 because that's what we had before. But every time we call it, so this is the first time before we hit random. Then once we hit random, we are going to clear canvas, clear that, and then set circle size.
Yeah, for the example, they gave a variable radius, and they assigned a random 1 to 10.
Oh, okay.
That. Yeah.
Circle size, random 1 to 10. Let's see what happens here. So this is what we started with. We hit random, and now we get a different thing. Hit random. Okay, so it is working. Every circle is not going to be a random size. It just randomizes the size of the next set. And you could obviously do this with any of the characteristics. The key is that it's a global variable. We initialize it outside of any of the functions so that other functions, multiple functions, can use the same variable and adjust the same variable. And we started out with, we have to give it a number to begin with, which we could put a random in there to begin with, which case the first time it'll be random, and then every other time it'll change. Okay, so those are things you could do. Okay, redraw random part 2. Clearing the canvas and then processing the array event list to redraw the dots. Okay, we're definitely going to need a for loop. We are definitely going to do the for loop for each circle, dot length. All right, let's see. Let's just go through and do exactly what they say. Add a for loop that runs. Let's put this in the random thing. Inside, let's do a for loop. I is 0. That's going to be our counter that goes through. And what do we call it? Event circle. Every circle. Dot length. Minus 1. No, because it's while less than, so it never gets to that amount. Okay, so when we hit random button, we want to clear canvas. We don't want to reset the array. We're processing the array now. We are setting, let's set circle size to a random number, and then for each one, we are going to, where's our circle command? Our circle, we're going to draw one at x of each element is going to be, oh, it says that. The name of our array is every circle. And each item, because we're iterating through that list of all the circles, the first item in the list is 0, the next one is 1, and we will always be referencing the whatever the counter is. So the first circle, as it goes through, this will get the first circle, because I will be 0. The next time through, it'll get the second one, because I will be 1, and so on. So, but we want each item in the list called every circ. We're going to draw it at its offset x. That's going to be its x location, and its y location is going to be whatever it is, offset y, and then we're going to make the circle size. Let's do this. Let's just console or comment this out for now. And instead of all right, well, we'll show you two different ways. We'll show you this way with changing the variable circle size outside of the loop. It's only going to change once. Should only change once. Let's see. Run. We need to make some circles, and then we hit random, and nothing. No, what do we do? Offset x, offset y. Oh, this needs to be capital. Let's try again. Okay, we need some circles, and random. On random button, set clear canvas. Oh, it is changing. Okay, there you go. So it's changing all of them because every time I click, it's giving this variable circle size a random number, and then every circle in the list, no matter how many there are, is getting that size. Now, if we put the random inside of the loop, we could, each one would be a different size. So if we put, instead of using the variable circle size as the size, if we put a random number in there, now let's get some circles, we'll hit random, each one is going to change in size. So this one says set the radius to random number, but if you didn't want if you wanted all of them to change to the same size, you would have the variable change outside. You'd only change it once. Inside the loop, it changes every time it goes through the loop. Okay, but the key is that we have this, we have an array called every circ that when we are drawing circles, adds a circle to that list, and now when we hit random, it goes through that entire list for each one. Okay, you know it's for each one because it's every circle index I, and this for loop is set up to hit every item in that list, and of every circ index I, we want its offset x value to be the x value for the new circle, or for each circle, and its offset y value to be the y value for the new circle. So that's what it looks like. Okay, 14, redraw original. Through different components with a classmate. No, you don't need to do that. First thing you're going to do is create original button. Okay, so let's make one of these called original button. And we'll have it, we'll have it say original. Do we want it to say, does it have it say original or IGI? Original, and let's give it a different color. What color is original? Yeah, there we go. And Meaningful click event handler. Inside the event handler, your original button, copy the code from the random button event handler. Paste it into the. Okay, so we definitely need an event handler. What I'm not sure the way they would solve it, but the way I would solve this is we need another variable to hold the original size. So we have, at the very beginning, we're making a variable called circle size. It's going to get a random number. We want another variable called orig circle size, and that's going to get whatever gets called the first time. And so we are going to store this first random size in this variable as sort of an extra compartment. And we want to do everything that we did in randomize, except instead of a random size circle, or have the radius be random size, we want it to be a circle size. Is that what I called it? Yes, that is what I called it. Okay, let's see if this works. So we'll make some circles. Hit random, random, random. There we go. So let's put a bigger range to make it more obvious. Between 1 and 50. And we'll have an original between 1 and 50. Reset run. So let's make some circles. Put random. Everything's going everywhere. And then hit original. And it resets it back to whatever random number came through when we originally ran the program. So that's just a way of using variables to sort of hold on to things, which is sort of the point of variables. And so 15, we had a question with 15. Let's see if we can just solve it as is. Okay, among the piece of information contained in each event parameter are the values movement x, movement y, how far in pixels the mouse move since the last. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's run the program. Let's make a couple of circles. Then let's console log. Nope. Our array, our list, every circ. And let's see what information we get there. Okay, so right now there are like 10 or 11, 12. And the first item, index 0 in our array of circles, we have the, let's give us some more room here. Let's give us all the room. Nope, that's all the room. One of the characteristics of this circle that we have is movement x is 9. And the second one, the second circle in is 3. And these should be pretty low. Yeah. So they're only, because you can see how they're all in the same area, they have not moved very far from the previous circle. And so that's what movement x is measuring. And you can reference any one of these characteristics for each circle. And that is what I suspect we're about to do. Okay, so movement x and y are how far in pixels the mouse has moved since the last event. Okay, so if the number is large, that means it's been a far distance since the last circle. It means it's moving fast, and so on. So we are going to use those two characteristics to figure out how fast it's going. And we're going to use the absolute value function to figure out, to make sure everything's positive. And we want to dot radius what are the parameters for event x? Let's see what dot radius looks like. What does it tell us about? What function do we think? Do we think a function? Write a function like the one above that accepts two parameters, movement x, movement y, and returns a radius. Higher speed should be smaller radius. Well, that could be either way. Okay, so dot radius. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can figure this out. Dot radius is the name of the function. This is going to be a return function, like I think in lesson 16. Pretty sure. So let's write a new function, and we are going to call this dot radius, and geez, this is going to go back and forth a few times. So when we want to draw a circle, instead of having a random number, we can have it. So the first time we're calling the random number, which I don't think we need anymore because we're just going to have this return function. So dot radius is going to get two parameters, movement x and movement y, inside your mouse move event handler. Do we have a mouse move event handler? Yeah, inside the mouse move event handler. Yeah, we want an event function. So mouse move, our circle size is going to be the function dot radius, which we haven't defined yet. Dot radius with two parameters, event dot movement x and event dot movement y, and we need to close off that, and it should turn green. Yeah. Okay, so this is a return function. We did this before, and we need to define this. So this is going to be our function. It gets two parameters sent to it, and we need to send back a value. So the two parameters that we need are its x move, and we can rename the parameters here, and they'll refer to the same thing, but I want to use different things to show that y moved. And so let's we need to create a new variable inside here because we want it to change every time we call it. So let's call it new radius equals, we want this to be blank because we're going to change it. And now, well, I guess we could just define it there. Does it tell what the calculation is? Oh, does it give us some pseudocode? Speed is math. Okay, here we go. Here's our code. So we are going to get our new variable, which is new radius, or speed as they call it, is going to be the math dot absolute of x moved, that's what I named the first parameter, plus math dot absolute of y move, and am I missing a parentheses? Let's put another, what is it not like here? Missing a semicolon. Math dot var new radius gets math dot absolute y moved. Okay, and what do we just return? Okay. No, let's call this one speed like they did. Speed, and then var new radius, which is what we want to send back, is, they say, a fifth of what it is. So var new radius gets 1 plus, does that come out to be a fifth? 1 plus 5 divided by speed. Whatever, let's just see what happens. 5 divided by our variable speed, and then we want to, what did I got? New radius is defined, but okay. Return new radius. So we are calling this function, well, we're defining it, but we're calling it as the size of the circle. This parameter of circle is, okay, so we have its x location of the circle, the y location of the circle, and the radius of the circle. But here, instead of actually giving it a radius or giving it a random number, we are going to call this function called dot radius, giving it 2 parameters, and then adjusting those parameters to send back a number which we want it to draw, and I have no idea if this is going to work. Yeah, there you go. So every circle is random, but let's switch these. Let's only call it when we go to random. Once we click random button, nope, that's not what we want. It'd say if we want this for random. No, this is set up just for every button. And okay. Whoa. Let's. There we go. We could refine that so that it does what we did originally, drawing one size circle, and then when you hit random, it then will draw random size circles. We could do that at the end, but it doesn't necessarily need to. Let's see what this tells us to do. Our original button is now slightly broken. Yeah, there we go. Let's fix the original button. The event handler function for original button change the value used for the radius from a fixed value. Okay, let's see what we have here. When original button is clicked, we want it to, instead of change the value, use the radius from a fixed freeform drawing. Slight distance so that it will be looping through. Slight difference is that you'll be looping over an array of events. Draws, so the line of code that draws the circle might look like the one below. Circle event I, dot radius. That's the same thing, right? Mr. DeRusi, do you see a difference between what they're asking for here? Hello?
I'm looking over it right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay, well I cleared it out. That's not good.
Over the last one, did you include the dot radius in your canvas main mouse movement?
Oh, yeah, is it not supposed to be in there?
I don't know if they wanted you to do that on the last step or not.
Okay, let's
I'm
get rid
trying to look.
of this and let's have it be circle size. Um,
I think like normal, you jumped ahead 1 step.
okay. So every time, here's what we'll do. Every time, shoot. No. Well, it definitely shouldn't be an original. Oh, maybe this is only in random. No, because random just randomizes it. We want. Oh, maybe it is in this one. And we'll have this one just be circle size. What do we call it? Circle size? Sounds funny. And let's see here. Let's run. Let's go like that. And we hit random. And now, nope, that
I
doesn't
know
work.
they want for the on event canvas main mouse move, they want that to be the dot radius function call, and then for the random, they want the circle event list random number 1 to 10. Um, for I think yours was
For
circle
the
size.
for the random one,
Yeah, they want that one to be
to keep the
uh,
random circle
to
size.
adjust it to a random 1 to 10 number, and then on the first one is the dot radius.
Circle size. Yeah, let's have this be random so it does it every time. And what do we work with? 1 to 50. Let's rerun. It does random. Random changes them all. And original doesn't do anything yet. Original should be.
Original should go back to the first set. So what was done when you first drew your mouse down. So it's going to go back to the event list.
Return new radius. But original, every circle. Adjusting the circle size. What do they want? Among the other piece of information, each parameter evaluation. Okay, do. Well, this one we already did. What do they want here? Fix the original button. It's now slightly broken. It is. Change the value of radius from a fixed value to the same thing calculated for the free form drawing.
So in the original button, they want you to put in that circle event list index offset x. They want that to happen, so it calls back the original index that was created when you do your like
This
first
one. Original circle size? No. Every circle.
Yeah, they want every circle, I believe, is what you're calling it. And then when you hit the original, it should do circle, original circle, index, offset x, all that stuff.
No. not original circle size. No, it'd be every circle.
I think yours, yeah, every circle for you, yeah.
Yeah, and then original circle size. But original circle size is just going to be um, a single radius. We want it to go back to this, right? So it would be every circle index I. All these are going to be index I because we're iterating. Every circle index I, every circle index I. And what does, hold on a second, I need to figure out what does the, is it just called radius? Let's console log. What does the function, what does it call? Does it just call it radius? Offset X, movement, page, movement.
And then it's calling the dot radius event list from the function. At the what is your bottom function?
But dot radius changes. Dot radius doesn't iterate. Well, whatever. Let's just call it. Oh, because it's still the same.
Yeah, it's like keep it the original value from dot radius function.
Which it will be because this isn't a randomization thing. This is an iteration thing. This is a go through each item.
Yeah, and we're not appending it, so it's going to be the original list still.
Yeah. Let's put this here, and we don't want event. We want every circle index I dot movement X. And geez, this is getting complicated. Just take our word for it.
That's why you should probably use all the calls and terminology that they use in their instructions, so you won't be as confused.
I mean, I don't think it's that.
Mr. Halt likes to march to the beat of his own drum.
Well, no, I think there's value in naming variables and parameters more specific names than the ones they give.
That is very true.
And reminding people that you can name them anything. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, so we're drawing random sizes. We hit random. It goes to a random size. And then we hit original. Nope. Okay, parameters.
Called the first one back.
Oh, there we go. Let's try this. Let's get rid of this. And yeah, that's what happens when you screw up a loop, is it does good for the first one. Okay, random. Hit random. Everything gets different sizes, which seems to be a pretty large range. And then hit original. Sweet. It goes back to that.
Boom.
Yeah. All right. So if you don't understand, I don't know, this is what it looks like. We are referencing, because this is in a for loop, we are going through the array every circle every time we go through this. We're going through every item in that array, and for each item, which is index I, because the first time through it's 0, the second time through it, and it adds 1 every time, its characteristics of that item, which, remember down here there was that huge list of objects that each had their own characteristics. We are using its location, or redrawing it. Well, we're clearing out the previous ones, then we're redrawing every circle in the array at its X location, its Y location, and then drawing it at with a radius that we're calculating with this return function called dot radius, receiving 2 characteristics, which, because we're referencing the array that we make the first time, okay, we're making an array here full of, I don't know, 100 circles. We now can use that same return function. We can go through that list using that same return function, and we'll get the same values that we did the first time because it's stored there. That's the whole point of an array. It's storing information that we.
I think if you try and think of it as like a stored list, essentially when you draw the first time, it stores the list that's made, and then when you hit random, it takes those values and adjusts them, but the original list still exists. And then for the original button, it's reapplying the original list's information back onto the screen again, if that kind of makes sense.
That's how I would describe it. Okay, let's see what goes on in bubble. Well, okay, let's see what happens. That's where there's a question here about bubble 15. Let's see what they.
I think we covered what they were asking in Bubble 15. It was mostly how do you implement the code, which is what we just covered.
Okay, that's fine. And we need this. Okay, making spray paint. So now we need to create a spray paint effect. Instead of drawing a single dot every location, draw many small dots randomly placed around. Wow. Okay, let's do the easy part. Let's call this and how to say it. Will that fit? Does fit. Spray paint, and let's make spray paint red. Sure. Okay, that's the easy part. And now so everywhere we click, instead of making a circle, it's going to draw a circle kind of near where we're pointed, randomly a little bit off, 3 pixels to the left or right, and 3 pixels up or down. That's what our random is here. And so, okay, so now we have our spray paint button. We don't want to console log. We are going to, okay, so it's just going to change. We're going to draw, design mode, spray paint, give a descriptive ID, copy the original. Yeah, copy this. Let's put this down here inside of spray paint. And instead of okay, so for each, instead of event.offset x, it's going to be event.offset x plus a small random number, which it's going to get kind of messy here. Let's give us some extra parentheses, plus, and in here, can we drag a random number in here? Yeah, there we go. From -3 to +3. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we need to change something. This is if spray paint button is clicked, this isn't going to work right. Oh no, this is instead of randomizing. That's what we need to copy. We're not using this to draw.
Yeah, we're not getting
new
ahead
buttons.
Yet. Step by step.
Yeah, we're not using this to draw new circles, which is what the mouse move does. Our mouse move function is the one where we are creating circles if the shift key is down and moving the mouse. Everything else, this one is changing those circles to a random size. This one puts them back to the beginning. Let's put our function definition down here. Let's give us some white space, like that, like that, and like that, and we'll put there. Let's separate our variables. Okay, so all of our initial characteristics, drawing, clearing, randomizing what we had, switching it back to what we started with, and now spray paint button, we are changing every circle we have to, we're going through each circle, and did I delete something? Oh no, I just copied the wrong stuff. Okay, so instead of every circle's x, we're going to do every circle's offset x plus the small random number plus plus random number from -3 to +3. And let's see what that looks like. Good. Okay, so this circle still has 3 characteristics. Its x location, which now is has a random number added to it. Its y location, and its radius, which we don't have yet. Let's just go ahead and.
I think you need to add the random number to the y offset as well.
I do. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah,
showing
my
where.
bad, my bad.
Come on, man.
I know you got this. I'm trying to keep you from going ahead here because
Yeah,
I know you're going to try to right now.
That's my tendency. Thank you. Okay, so we have extra parentheses. I don't know if these extra parentheses are necessary, but they couldn't wait. So now where does the extra one need to be? Okay, so this one belongs to there. So do we need another one? This closes off what? I want that to close off that one.
I think you got an extra one. That one right there, just backspace 1. Offset y.
This one?
Yes.
But this wouldn't belong to that one. So I want this in. This is my extra one. And I need an open here and a closed here. Nope, that's not right. Let's give it some space. I know everything looked good for a second, but okay, so this
And then
is
get rid of the last random number as well. That's supposed to be just a 1.
one.
I think that will help with parentheses as well.
Apparently not. Okay, so we have, this is our X location, which I think, yeah, this one needs one more, maybe. And then this is our Y location, and then we need one to close out all of our parameters. Wha-bam. All right, so let's give us some space here for no reason. Actually, it's not, because it's going to look weird when it switches to color. And let's get rid of this. All right, so that was unnecessarily complex. And okay, so now when we switch it, it's going to make every circle a tiny circle, slightly off of where it started from. So let's go ahead and try it. Make tiny circle, or these circles, and then hit spray paint, and they all become super tiny. But let's. Does it say do something extra?
Nope, that's it. Yeah, the next one's gonna make them dotted. So just move on to the next one.
Okay. All right. So
are happy.
If that didn't explain things, I don't know. Listen to it again, or you can see all the code. And if you're ever not sure what something does, you can mess around with it. Generally, you can't break things, especially if you have this video to reference. Okay. So making spray paint. Okay, so this is what I was going to do. Again, looking to add things beforehand. Here, we're going to turn every circle that we draw into a 5 small circles randomly placed. First, let's get this new radius is 1 plus 5, but I want the original ones to be a little bit bigger. Let's just change it. Yeah. That's a little bit better. Why is our random one so big? Where's our, that's why.
You set the value to like 50 or something crazy like that.
I'm getting really sick of these colors. Set stroke color, whatever. It's proven a point. All right, so we are going to, instead of just hitting spray paint and making tiny circles that are slightly different locations, we are going to make 5 tiny circles in slightly different locations. So we need a for loop inside of our other for loop 5 times. So for every item in this list, 5 times it's going to make a small circle. So we'll make our list and then hit spray paint, and that's not what we're looking for.
Just got to change the second variable from I.
Oh yeah, we need J is a standard one. I'm not sure if it says J, but whenever you have nested loops, you do need a second variable. And here we're still referencing I is every item in the event in the every circle list. So we wouldn't have J anywhere in here, I don't think. Let's see what happens. Again, I'm not happy with this. Let's go back to 1 plus. Let's see if 10 is this. I want a bigger variance. Okay, and then if we hit spray paint, there we go. You could pick different colors and different parameters, but the idea is that each one of these is, let's see, let's make this a little bigger. Let's go 20. Also, let's do this. This is, again, really bugging me. Let's change the color of the background. Back to white. Now, let's run it. Let's go back to the code. And so our circles, when you're going real slow, they're big. When you're going fast, they're tiny. And now we hit random. They all change. Go back to the original. And then hit spray paint. And I would have the variance be larger if the original have the variance, instead of being hard-coded from -3 to +3, have it be based on the size, because you can see from the size is different. Perhaps again, I don't really need to get into that. You would use variables to, or actually, you would just use this return function. It would get kind of ridiculous, but you'd put this bar right here, return function, and send to we'll move on. We'll come back to this at the end. It'll be interesting to me.
It would have to reference the original size of it and then dots for the size. Is that?
Well, what happens if we go random and spray paint? All right, let's see. It's still referencing original, because we are not changing that list ever. No matter how many times we randomize, the characteristics of original are the same. The question is, when we hit spray paint, we want to reference those original ones, but have it...
None of this is required.
Yes, thank you. From negative... 1 times every circle index I dot radius to every circle index I radius. Let's see if this works unnecessarily. And this is only going to affect things left and right, so it'll look wider. Let's do it with fewer things. Nope, didn't work. Plus random number between -1 times God, that's a lot of parentheses.
We could possibly circle back to this
Yeah, good call.
afterwards. Let's not break it too much before we
Yeah, that's true.
get to the
Good
finish of
point.
it.
Can I undo all that and come back to it? Does my Control Z still work? Nope. Uh-oh. Okay. Jeez. Let's just put in the other thing that we had. What did we have here? Oh yeah,
It's
plus
just
or minus.
random number, -3, comma 3.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. All right. So bubble 19, relative indexes or indices. When looping over the array, typically I will keep track of what index we're at. We can access each index and text the name of the array, index I. If we want, however, we could access the contents of the next element, which will be I plus 1, new element in the array. Okay, so this is definitely going to be some unnecessarily interesting stuff. All right, we're going to use the relative index, create a final effect, which will look some sort of etching image for every x and y location in the event list. Draw a straight line between that location and the location stored 10 spots. So it's going to be I plus 10. Okay, and all right, so line, circle, we had 3 parameters. It's the x and y location of its center and the radius of the circle. Line has 4 parameters, and x and y of where the line starts and x and y of where it finishes. Okay, so they want to call this create a for loop etch. So let's call this etch button, and we'll have the text say etch, and we can just leave it green. Let's go back. We need an event handler for it. We'll go back here. Let's put it up here and space stuff out because it makes me feel better. And so when we click the etch button, we're definitely going to do a for loop. Let's just go ahead and get out a fresh one. We need a for loop, and you can see because we want to draw a line between every dot and the dot that's 10 more down the line, we can't go to from 0 to every circ dot length, because when it gets to the like 9th from the end or 8th from the end, it will there isn't one 10 further down the line. So we have to have this stop at every circle dot length minus 10. So the function won't break, or the loop won't break. Once again, we do need to clear canvas at the beginning to get rid of everything else. And we want to draw a line. You know what? We might be coming up against, I think I might have to dip at 4 o'clock. But we want it from every circle. Our line is going to be every circle index I dot offset x. That's going to be the x location start of the line. Then the y location start of the line is going to be index I offset y. And we're going to draw a line from that to I plus 10. Okay, that'll get the offset X of the circle that's 10 down the line. Let's spell it consistently. I kind of screwed myself over with that. Should have just done it right. Okay, and then the end of this line's Y location is going to be the same as the X except offset Y. I plus 10 offset Y, and okay, yeah, so we need to, the line needs to, we also need to set stroke width, and what's set stroke color? Let's see what happens. So let's run, let's make some circles, random size, spray paint, original, and nothing. Okay. Oh, do I have a typo still? Circ. Yep, there we go. That's where. Womp womp. So the other stuff works. Etch. Let's use a smaller line weight. And let's see what happens. I think if they're closer together. How can I make this more obvious? Farther apart? Yeah, that's essentially the point. This is kind of far down. Let's see if we can do them, like do one that's like 4 down the list. See what that looks like. Then we can do, go through every item except the last 4. Yeah, I don't know how to make this more like what they want. Let's see here. What do they have it look like? Spray paint. Etch. Is it just supposed to be smaller? Or slower? What if black? I don't know. You can play around with this. We got it to work, but it's not that awesome. Let's say, let's put this back to like that. Let's see what happens. I do think it should be the thinnest line, because that's, I guess it's working. I'm not really sure what
I think
considerations. Do
for
you know
the
the
next,
characteristics?
they want you to set stroke color and set stroke width within this event handler, because I think yours is using a global one up at the
I have
top.
this one right here.
Yeah, so they want you to use this inside the.
Am I not using it inside?
Maybe you are using it right. Maybe you can change the width and whatnot, and that will make it more pronounced. I don't know what you're going for.
I don't know. Perhaps it's not that fantastic of an of a.
I think it's just supposed to look kind of like a hand sketched thing.
So would it be just my circles are too far apart? Yeah, it does kind of look interesting. If you look at it kind of closely, it's kind of a loose connection. What if we... No, it's fine. We don't need to do the what if we thing that I always do. All right, let's see. What's the last one? Let me see. Give me a second here. I'm not sure what's going to happen when I do this. Okay, so it's just create your own effect. I thought it was going to be something else. All right, so extend the functionality. Why can't I do this? Oh, that's it. Add a different effect. It'd be hard to judge this from an assessment point of view, but it's certainly something you can do to uh, increase your abilities. Um, let us. I want to try this thing. It's going to be a lot easier if we create some variables. Um, um, let's see here. Let's just create a variable called rand offset amount, and that's going to get um, every circ index I dot radius. Why do we call this dot radius? That's horrible. And we're going to have amount. We'll just do it here. Pause, and then do it again. Give the negative of this to be negative, just to keep some math out of the negative, and this is going to be whatever. It'll be this times -1. And then in each thing, our range is going to be from random. I could use shorter variable names. To positive. And the y amount will be the same from random number and okay, so this is for the spray paint effect. Let's see what happens. Control 0, run, and spray paint. No. Plus random. Okay, so this is an example of using console log to debug. Let us console log this. So when it runs, undefined. Wait, did I put that in the right spot? Spray paint 5 times. Oh, let's put this here. Yeah, let's try that. Let's put this here also. Huh. Random offset every circle I because shoot. This is where we call this thing, this return function, I think. Let's see what happens if we do that. Let's copy this, and well, let me go back. Oh. Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so that's where we got to call it for today. We're going to do whatever it's called, create tasks tomorrow, and the deadline for this is going to be Monday. We'll call it Sunday night, but really Monday morning. And we'll talk tomorrow. Put the time up tonight as per usual. And I think that's going to be it. All right.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yep.